Hey, welcome back to the Author Adventure, another episode of amazing stories, conversations about becoming an author, the journey, the experience, and some of the things that are going on. How are you today, Liz? How are you
I'm doing
doing?
great, Russ. Thanks so much. So, yeah, excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about personal experiences and how you use your personal experience to create a book and to create maybe a whole new business before it's over with.
Well, you've been in the business for a few days here and there, and you've probably created well over 100 bestsellers in your career. Is that?
Right,
I
right.
think that's about right, isn't it?
Yep, 112. Yep.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about publishing.
Right,
I want to, we have the 5 secrets that we want to share with people each week, and some of the things that we're going to be sharing is some of the steps that some people take in order to accomplish their goal of writing and publishing as an
right.
author. So,
Mhm.
what is it that we're talking about today,
So, today
Liz?
we're talking about publishing. So, we're going to share one of the secrets of publishing, which is the 3 ways that people publish.
I love the 3 ways. So let me talk about the 3 ways, and then I'm going to bring you back, and I'm going to allow you to introduce our guest today. Fair
Okay,
enough.
that'll be great. Fair
All
enough.
right. So I want to talk about publishing and the way that there are 3 types of primary publishing. There are, a lot of people know that you can actually um, you can traditionally publish. A lot of famous authors that you may have heard of or seen in bookstores or heard about are traditionally published. And what that means is there's an organization that has the control, and they have the ability to guide you and recommend things and change your covers, and it's a much longer in-depth process. I like to think of it as like music publishing too. It's like everybody's got an opinion about what you should do as an artist, how you should do things. And I I know that not everybody is publishing traditionally. And a lot of traditional publishers nowadays, they're asking, how big is your audience? Do you have a community? Do you have an outreach? Do you have things? So they want quite a bit from an early or unproven author out there. The other thing is self-publishing. Now, the second way of publishing is self-publishing, where you're actually writing the book yourself, and there are a number of activities and organizations that can help support that. Sometimes you can do an ebook on Amazon, as simple as that process, and there are other organizations that Liz will help guide you through this process in order to self-publish. And we have some courses coming up and some events and activities that will go into this topic much deeper. But for this conversation today, what we want to do is talk about the self-publishing and some of the work and effort that goes into it. And one of the challenges with self-publishing is the idea that you have to learn everything yourself. There's not a guide by your side, and some of the things that you might learn along the way may or may not save you time. But if you had somebody to help you, and that's where we come into the third concept of partner publishing. And partner publishing is where you have partners like Liz, and she's been through the entire cycle of publishing. She knows the book industry. She knows how to connect with the people that she can collaborate with to help you along and guide you through that process. So there's a lot of elements that people may not realize before they get into the entire cycle of this publishing effort. So I just want to remind you that this show is all about the idea that there is support, there is assistance, and there are people there that are going to help you along the way. So hopefully I got this correct, Liz, and guide me if I haven't. So it's like,
No, you did. You did a great job. You did a great job. And like you say, self publishing, you have all the investment,
uh-huh,
but you have all the control. And for somebody like me who's a creative, I like to be in control of my own stuff. I don't really want to be having somebody else make the decisions about my stuff. And
Right.
really, time and that control is the only issue I have with traditional publishing. If you want to traditional publish, that's great. You just be planning on 2 or 3 years. I don't have 2 or 3 years. That's my other problem. The big advance
TikTok,
is,
we got to go.
yeah, that's right. We got to get this stuff done now. But traditional publishing, you got to have an agent. That takes you a year longer. Then you got to get the publisher. That takes a year or 2 years. So you can easily be looking at 3 or 4 years before you even get out the door. And if you've spent 4 or 5 or 6 years or 7 years writing your book, you really don't. I don't know that you've got another 3 or 4 years to wait. But people can go that way if they want to. If they just want to write and they don't really want to have to deal with some of the other stuff, the production stuff. But that's what partner publishing does for you. Some people confuse partner publishing and vanity publishing. A
Mhm.
partner publisher is somewhere that shares costs with you. Yes, you do pay some cost. You maybe pay some production costs, some formatting costs, or cover design, editing, whatever. But usually that partner has contacts that you don't have. Like me, for instance, because I've
Yeah.
been in the business so long, I have multiple contacts across the world. And if you work with me, then you're going to get the benefit of all my network just because you're partner publishing with me. Is there some cost to what we do? Yes, there certainly is, but it's not $50,000 and $100,000 like some vanity presses will charge you. So, but yes, you do have to maybe spend 2,500 or 5,000 or 10 or 15 if you want to be marketing consistently and marketing over a period of time. And you're not going to get rich on your book. Let's be
Well,
real.
well,
It's
I
all
think
about upsell.
the other thing that we really want to stress in this program is, there's 5 things that authors need to consider. And as
Right.
we go week to week and we talk about all of these things, we
Yeah.
really need to stress the idea that it's great to have somebody that has already been there, done that, bought the shirt, owns the mug and
Right.
everything along that way to at least answer your
Yeah.
questions. And
Yeah, and
that's
it
what
just
this
saves
show's
you
about.
time and money because a
Yeah.
lot of times you'll spend money with some of these other people or chasing this golden object or the shiny object, as we call it.
Yeah.
And you end up at the same place and you don't have anything to show for it because somebody took advantage of you. And people will take advantage of you. So you need to ask around. You need to ask other authors who they work with. You need to search people. If you get somebody's name, you need to do a search on Google or Facebook or somewhere else. And if they've got a presence and you can see that they've been around for years, then they're probably okay.
Yeah.
If they've just barely got a few photos up or you can't find them on social media or online or anything like that, run the other way as fast as you
Well,
can.
and that's the whole point of this show, is to be
Yeah.
able to share some of these experiences, share some of the adventures and successes of authors. And I just
Right.
want to drop off and let you uh, introduce our guest this week and make sure that
Okay.
we have an opportunity to share her
That'll be
story.
great. And come back at the end if you will.
Yes, I,
We'll
I
wrap
will.
up.
I won't run away too far.
Great.
So
Sounds
thank you
good.
so much, Liz, for the information, and look forward to next steps.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Author Adventure. We're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And I'm just delighted to introduce our author today, our #1 Amazon bestselling author, Tricia Scimone. Tricia is the author of The Gray Divorce Revolution, Naked and Unafraid, 7 Steps to Heal a Broken Heart. And so we're going to be talking about her journey today because this was a personal journey. This is a personal story. So this is basically what we would consider a nonfiction book. It's a biography. And so, Tricia, welcome to the show. So nice to have you.
Thank you so much, Liz, and it's great to see you once again.
You bet. You bet. Well, tell our listeners and the people watching, how did you get started writing? Why did you write this book in the first place?
Well, I had hired a business coach, and we started talking about changing my career or adding to my already established career. I had been selling real estate for 37 years, and I continued to do that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, he had been asking me questions as to what my burning desire was. And I had told him that I had recently gotten a divorce and I had spent a tremendous amount of time scouring books and listening to podcasts and questioning friends and family and sharing stories. And I really felt like I had a tremendous amount of information,
Yeah, sure.
information that honestly I couldn't even believe myself was spewing out of my mouth. And so I said, I would really like to share my experience with people that I believe that unfortunately the world is hurting.
Right.
Also, it was at the time where many people were indoors and COVID was rampant. And I felt like there were a lot of people that really needed good information, and not only good information, but information from a person who has already gone through the process
Right.
of things.
Experienced it. Yeah.
Yes, which
Taking
is
the
very,
journey.
yes, it's very important because some of the things I read, you could tell they never had that experience because
Right.
there were things that were missing that you could easily tell that they didn't have what I had. So I felt like I had learned enough to be dangerous.
Right. Right.
And so things like just as perfect examples, Liz. Um, a lot of people, and I don't know if it's even so meaningful, but it certainly was meaningful to me. I wanted to know what your brain looks like on love.
Right.
I
Right.
wanted to really delve into what real unconditional love
Right.
is.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand how the universe is tuned into love through numerology and astrology. Okay, those may not be mainstream things that an awful lot of people are interested in, but the truth be told is that these are things that actually affect us, affect our love life, and
Right.
you should be interested in these things.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought I had a healthy dose of self-love and self-care.
Nope. Nope. We lost her.
Not. I realized that I was missing parts
Right.
and pieces of self-love.
Yeah.
And then what brought me to my knees was the fact that when I was researching all of the chapters, there was a chapter on regrets.
Right.
And that hit me.
Yeah. Really hard. Mhm.
And then it hit me really hard when I questioned my own thoughts and the things that I had done. And so that's one of the things that really, in the process of writing, there were fabulous little miracles that happened all over the place. But when I started to think about my own regrets, I said, do I have any? And at first I said, no, for my whole life, thankfully, I've gone where I've wanted to go. I've done what I've wanted to do. I've said what I needed to say. And when I thought about one part of my life, which was the relationship that I actually based the book on, well, at least jump started the book, I realized that I was out of the relationship with this man, that I had gone through the trauma of saying goodbye to this man. I really said to myself, am I over loving him? And I wasn't. And that's where the next chapter, the final chapter, came in. That's
Right.
why, as you know, I wrote a final chapter that is actually not part of the book. And if you don't mind, I would like to tell the audience that if you would like my free ebook, you would go to www.author.triciashimone.com. And by the way, I believe it's case sensitive. So author, the A in author, the T in Tricia, and the S in Scimone is capital. And there you can put your email in and be able to get my free ebook. And what that is, it is a the first chapter that was pulled out of the book, and the final chapter that is not in the book at all.
Right, right. So those are listening, because this is a podcast in addition to a live stream. I'm going to go ahead and spell that for you. So if you're listening on the podcast, it's www.author.Tricia Scimone. That's AUTHOR, Tricia, TRICIA, Scimone, SCIMONE. Okay, Tricia Scimone. So you could type that in, you can look that up. She'll be available there. And basically, I mean, Tricia's story was her personal story of getting a divorce after 20 years, really thinking that seriously through and asking herself hard questions. And sometimes we have to do that. And after those hard questions were asked, she moved forward with her life. She met someone else and fell in love too, maybe for the second time. And it is hard for people, isn't it? I mean, I know you talk to people every day that, either they're not over the divorce and it happened years ago, or like you say, they have regrets, or they still have a lot of emotional baggage around that. And so your book really is a guide, isn't it, Tricia?
Yes, it is. It's a fabulous resource guide. There are 6 stories. They're all stories of love with an expiration date. And after you read the 6 stories, it goes into an explanation of certain things. And then the last part of the book, because it was broken up into 3 parts, the last part of the book is actually a resource guide. If you plan on moving, where you might think of moving to, in order to be able to find as many singles in the area as humanly possible. And not only singles in your area, but also maybe singles that are very active and actively on dating sites.
Right.
It's a wealth of information and really worthwhile. The ebook is only a very, very, very small part of it. The book itself, The Gray Divorce Revolution, is a 250 some odd page book, but it's still a very, very easy read. And it's a great book for all sorts of information and then all sorts of resources.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So check that out. The book's available on Amazon. It's available on Tricia's website. We gave you that earlier, www.authortriciashimone.com. So, well, Tricia, I guess when you were writing, you were doing a lot of research. So you gathered a lot of research and then you sat down and wrote from that, didn't you?
Actually, I had a tremendous amount of research done prior to even writing the book. When I was thinking about getting a divorce, I had read quite a number of books on relationships and what a healthy one looks like, and a myriad of books on why you should end up leaving, and another myriad of books on why you should stay and work it out. So I had already done an awful lot of research. And when I originally submitted my book, I had well over 500 pages. And I just, when I sat down to write, the truth of the matter is that I kept writing and writing and writing. And I got to a point where there were better than 500 pages, and it broke my heart. But as Liz said, that no one was going to read my Bible of my truth.
Right.
So I needed to start really carving what would be the final edition of the book, which
Yeah.
meant that there were chapters that had to be taken out of the book. And there were
Yeah.
also chapters that had to be cut down tremendously in which to be able to get to 250 pages. But of course, these are one of the things that are of helpfulness when you have someone like Liz in your back pocket. You can have her guide you through, that would have been maybe a very terrible mistake. I'm not sure I would have made, number one in the short period of time that I did if I had a book that was over 500 pages, because I really thought that, I needed to give everybody every bit of information that I
Right.
had. And, Liz taught me that maybe you need to write a second book. Maybe you need to write a third book. The chapters that were excluded from the book were excluded because they were important, but not as important of what was left in the 250 pages of the book. Because as I said, I mean, not everybody wants to hear 500 pages of my truths, whether they
Right.
be good, bad, or otherwise.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, it is. It's a wonderful book, like you say. If you know somebody that's struggled with divorce and they're still hanging on, if you know somebody that's experiencing divorce right now, you may know somebody that's thinking about a divorce. It may not be you. It may be a friend. It may be a sister, a brother, somebody in the family, a neighbor, somebody at work. And if people are struggling, we want to help them. And I know that Tricia's heart is about helping people. And I know that the reason she wrote this book and she shared her personal pain and her journey and her success of getting to the other side, because that's what it's about. How do you get to the other side, create a new life for yourself, and create the life that you dreamed of and that you want to have? You only have one life. And luckily, Tricia was courageous enough to really take a hard look at her life and say, I don't want to live like this anymore. If I've
Yes,
only got 10 years left, I want those 10 years to be different. If I only have a year or 5 years or 20 years, we don't know how much time we have, but there's no reason to be miserable. And so you really need to take a hard look at your life. You need to take a hard look at your relationships. And if you can work it out, we want you to work it out, but we don't want you to stay for the wrong reasons.
yes.
And so, Trissa, what do you think? I guess what's the hardest thing for people? Do you think is it just it's the emotional thing? It's dealing with the emotion, isn't it? Do you think, or what?
Well, most definitely. There's lots of hard things. I think that everyone must find their superpowers, and one of their superpowers is courage. And I find, unfortunately, that people don't feel that they are courageous when, if they would look deep down inside of you, you have more courage than you know what to do with. You just won't take it out. I
Yeah,
think that people also are lazy and they don't want to change. So
yeah,
they'd rather have the status quo, even if it's a miserable status quo, it's still the status quo, and they don't
yeah,
have to worry about making changes in their life.
right,
One of the things that surprised me was writing the final chapter, and not because of the outcome, but because of the pangs of regret.
yeah,
Um, it
yeah,
was just so strong that I needed to finish the book and I needed to put the proper ending to my story. I wanted everyone to know that you need to look at yourself every day and see if you have regrets. If you do, you need to muster up the courage to make those changes, because
right,
what will happen is, and no one wants to think about their demise, but the fact is that none of us is getting out of here alive.
right. That's
And
right.
so we all have to look at our lives and say, is there something that I need to change now, right now? Because I can't wait any longer and I must end up changing it. I will never allow myself a what if. to be part of my life. I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen what it does to people. And
Right.
I'm really happy that I trusted my soul and said, I've got to
Right.
try this one more time. If it doesn't end up working one way or another, it would have been nice if it did work, but if it didn't work, that's fine too, because I needed to just say, I don't have a what if any longer. And I'm happy to say that it's one of the best things that I've ever done. And I
Right.
can't imagine that it won't be one of the best things that the next person does. I
Right.
encourage everyone to do the very same thing,
Yeah.
regardless
So you
of.
basically, you killed your relationship
Well, yes.
on social media.
Yes,
So
I
here's
did.
Tricia being carted off in handcuffs because she ended her relationship.
Yes.
After giving it the shot, she really did. She really did take a hard look. She went back. She engaged in conversation with the love of her life and this great love that she had, and but she was willing not to settle. She
And
was
I want
willing
to
to,
tell you, you're
yeah, tell.
absolutely right. This is a bit of a secret that I've kept for a couple of weeks, but I'm going to share it with you right now.
Okay, great.
I am going to form a 501c3, and the name of the firm is called One Wish Granted. And I'm hoping that people will write in and decide that they have a wish that they have not fulfilled, regardless of what it is. I mean, I can't tell you that I'm going to find you a trip around the world,
Right.
but I'm hoping that at one point that I can give a wish a month. And then at one point, when I get a little bit bigger and better and have donors and so forth, that I am able to grant a wish a week to a senior.
A senior, that's right.
Yes,
A mature adult.
yes. This is going to be a program that is very similar to a Make-A-Wish Foundation,
Right.
except obviously that's for people, young men and women that are under the age of 18.
Right.
This is
With
going to
medical
be
conditions.
for people that are over the age of 65, where they want a wish and they cannot have it fulfilled. And this is my way of being able to give back. This is my way of being able to say, I'm happy you've come to terms with your life, and I want to be able to help you not have as many regrets, because there are too many books out there and too many people that are on their deathbed telling the hospice nurse all of the wonderful things that they should have done. And most people aren't, upset about the things that they did do. They're upset about the things that they didn't do.
Right.
And
Right.
so I want them to have, if nothing else, their one
wish.
last wish.
Yeah, their one last wish. And that's it, because people don't regret. Those people regret that they didn't live their own life their
Yes.
way.
Yes.
They regret that they lived their life for somebody else. I mean,
Yes.
it comes up over and over again. It's almost the highest thing across the board. And when you talk to hospice people, or if you talk to people that work with death and dying, or people in the hospital, nurses, doctors, I mean, that's it. We don't regret the things that we did. We regret those things that we didn't do. And so I really appreciate that you're here, that you're sharing with our audience today. For those of you listening on our podcast, you can get the additional content, the last chapter or final chapter of Tricia's book. It's an ebook. You can go to her www.authortriciascimone.com site. You need to scroll down and put your email in. And once you put your email in, you will get the last chapter. You'll get probably the first chapter too, because that will give you the setup if you haven't read the book. And then the last chapter, along with her 7 steps for living happily alone. Because that's the other thing. Some people are looking for a new relationship. Some people feel like that maybe they don't want a relationship right now. Maybe they just want to get to know themselves, or they want to re-get to know themselves. Did you find that you had to like re-find yourself after your divorce, Tricia?
Well, it's funny because my short-term friends said that I reinvented myself, but friends that I have had for many, many, many years have said that the old me is back.
Right.
And in the book, I laugh and I say, now I can sing in the rain, except now I live in Florida, so I dance on the beach instead.
That's right. That's right. So yeah. So that's it. So you can live where you want to live. As long as you're alive, as long as we're breathing, we can make choices. And that's the other thing. Don't you think, Tricia, that some people get caught up, they just are afraid to make a choice,
Well,
and we can choose every day. If we break up and we're breathing, we can choose how we're going to live that day and how we're going to live and where we're going to go and what we're going to do and who we're going to do things with. So life's too short to be miserable. So
you got that right.
yeah, so Tricia's here. If you experienced a divorce, I recommend that you check out The Great Divorce Revolution, Naked and Unafraid, 7 Steps to Heal a Broken Heart. You'll hear those stories up front, not only Tricia's personal story, but other people's stories that she had met over the years. There's some men's story from men. There's some stories from women. And then she really does. She talks about what love is really.
Okay, somehow we lost her. Oh, there you are. Oh, no, it's Russ.
Storms in Dallas. Storms in Dallas. Thanks, Russ. I appreciate you jumping back in. We've had these torrential rainstorms here in Dallas, and I guess I lost my connection there. But anyway, and I've lost y'all's sound. I can't hear y'all. Can y'all hear me? All right, I'm not hearing y'all. So you might have to wrap up, Russ, because I've lost my hearing.
And I'm here. So
Oh,
can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so thank you, Tricia, for joining us today. I really appreciate you and all of the adventures that you've shared and will continue to share. I love the idea of, having wishes granted to seniors. As somebody that's an advocate for seniors, I really do appreciate that. And Liz, let's make sure that we have an opportunity to actually share this out. I know that Tricia's got, we got the banner down below, author TriciaScimone.com. There's some additional content that you can join for at her site. And we continue to, and next week we're going to continue down this author adventure at 5 o'clock Central Time every Tuesday. So join us every Tuesday and make sure that you have an opportunity to learn more about being an author, becoming an author. If you're thinking about it, jump in the comments, ask questions, make sure that you have an opportunity to understand what it takes, what is necessary, and how we can help. So Liz, any last words of wisdom that we can?
Yeah, just that next week we'll be talking to Mike Ferris. Mike is a multi-book author. He's written nonfiction and fiction. He writes mostly legal thrillers because he was an attorney for years as an entertainment attorney. He also won the biggest publishing case in the history of publishing. And so maybe he'll share a little bit about that with us, but he'll be talking fiction writing probably mostly. So if you're a fiction writer, you want to join us next week so you can hear Mike's comments about that, about his writing process and about publishing. He also was a literary agent for a few years, for about 10 years. So Mike's a very interesting guy. So I hope y'all come back next week and join us then. And that's all I've got today. But thanks, Tricia. I'm sorry I fell out on us.
Well, and thank you everyone for joining the Author Adventure, and join us every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.